We are back with Mr. Ric Couchman. Ric, let's talk about your recent book, A Famine of Tears.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you write this book for? Who did you have in mind, by the way?
I tell you what, Solomon. The homeless.
The homeless?
Yeah.
Why?
The indigent. The disenfranchised, the dispossessed, the voiceless. I think those were the ones that I had in mind when I wrote this book. And of course, it's my ideas are expressed poetically.
Yes.
Not in prose, and so that makes it a lot more visceral, and it's highly charged emotion, highly compressed emotion as such, and so there's a lot of feeling in there about the plight of the individuals who don't have the means.
These are the reasons that made you want to write this book.
Well, I think it's sort of in my system, so to speak. Though there might not be sort of a conscious objective, but it's certainly informed by my interest in making sure that the plight of the individuals who are in dire straits and who are destitute, that their plight gets.
As you were writing, take us to some of those moments. What were some emotions that you went through as you were writing? Because this seemed to be an emotionally charged book, because it's dealing with humanity, it's dealing with the plight of people and conditions of people and so on. Where did you get your strength from? I mean, what kept you going when you had the humps? Sorry.
In terms of the writing aspect?
Yes, you're right. But no. Let me be specific. The emotional humps. What got you through those periods?
Actually, the act of writing itself, because that in itself is cathartic. It's that sort of cleansing. That you're a writer. You know what I'm talking about, right? So
what I want you to
and you can't help yourself.
Yes.
And it's sort of like that release, basically. And in addition to that, there's the notion of you're impelled to do it. You can't, and I'm using a double negative here. My students are probably going to kill me for this, but you can't not. Right, you have to do it. There's something that is pulling at you, and then when you get it out there, you're relieved. So thank God.
Do you remember how you felt when you realized you finished the book?
There was a feeling of relief. The book is like a huge sigh. Basically, so consider the metaphor. It's like a sigh. It's that sort of release.
You mentioned earlier that I think you did, that some of your early experience growing up in Ireland manifested.
Yeah, those experiences inform the book. Now, what is important for our hearers to understand is that it's not a biography.
Right.
While some of my experiences inform the material, this is my imagination at work, essentially as well.
Yeah.
So this is a work of fiction, and so some of the voices that we would hear in some of the poems are not my voice.
Right.
They're the voices of all kinds of people. It might be a voice of a child, the voice of a young girl, the voice of someone who is a cross-dresser, a voice of... It could be anybody.
What are some aspects of Guyanese culture you feel readers can glean from this book, especially non-Guyanese?
Aspects of Guyanese culture.
Yeah.
Well, the religious motif
Uh-huh.
is readily apparent here. Now, as a person who's from Guyana,
Yes.
the poems, they might not be in this sort of typical vernacular
Okay.
of our country, and the patois, not patois, sorry, the Creolese that we use. So I think there's one poem that actually in the book that is sort of use the patois of our not patois. I keep saying patois because I lived in Jamaica for 4 years, so but the Creole. So there's one poem, but so it is not readily apparent that this is a Guyanese person writing this, but the sense of community, the sense of compassion, those are all things that make Guyana. And I'd like to think that those are the things here that are the basic ingredients that people can sort of identify.
Where can people find this book?
It's available on Amazon.com, and the proceeds for it actually, the sales proceeds from the sale of the book, I have largely decided that it was going to go to an orphanage in Guyana, the St. John's orphanage. I've already contacted some of the administrators there, and I told them my intent. But I got that from my mom, who, when she was here in the United States, and when she was alive, she would occasionally, she'd go down to the homeland, and since she was a cook, she would prepare huge feasts and feed the kids. And so no, I can't do that, but this is my way of.
But this brings to mind something that you really believe in. We cannot write people off.
No.
We cannot discard or devalue them. At our worst,
Yeah.
we still have to embrace each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's very important.
It's important because as you've heard me say, life makes sense. Now, life is not some sort of a vacuum or people-less construct. In life, there are people.
Yes.
And if you have people, there are relationships. So we just can't walk around being robots and unmindful of one another.
Mhm.
There has to be some sort of engagement with each other. And so if life makes sense, this is my philosophy, then people have to make sense as well. And that means that people are important. You, me, the other, the person, regardless of status, regardless of economic well-being, regardless of social well-being, regardless of religious persuasion, regardless of sexual orientation, right? We all make sense.
Yeah. You have another book, Musings from Outside the Universe.
Yeah, that was my first book of poetry. That was like the sort of child born out of wedlock, so to speak.
What is it about this particular book, A Famine of Tears, that really gave you goosebumps?
What gives me goosebumps, and you and I were talking about this not too long ago, so what gives me goosebumps is, and I'm going to use your words, did I write this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because I'm a stranger to it. I'm like every other reader. This is not Rick looking at that which he's written. This is Rick having absolutely no clue what he has written.
Yes.
This is Rick being an ordinary reader, having an interpretation of his work that he has written, just like everyone else.
You tell most people this, they wouldn't believe that. Right? When you write it, why would you ask that question?
Exactly.
But it does. You do experience.
What that speaks to is the universality of the book. If we were to identify with the book immediately, then that would make it particular.
Yeah.
And if it's particular, then it means absolutely nothing to anyone else. It is just biography, and it is, it doesn't expand our horizons or anything like that.
What have you discovered about yourself as A, a teacher, and B, as a writer?
As a teacher, I am constantly learning, and it's important that I learn from my students. I said this to I was working with my seniors in senior seminar class the other day, and I said to them, I learn from each of you. There's one student that I have in my class. Her name is Danny. She is the epitome of self-discipline. And I say to her, I am so amazed at your self-discipline.
Wow.
And I wish I had that kind of self-discipline, as it were. So I look at my students, and there's always a little something that I can take from them. So what I've learned as a teacher is that my students also teach me.
Yes. And as a writer.
As a writer, what I've learned is that I've still got a ways to go. I am becoming better and better.
Yes, yes, the process. What is the strangest thing anyone has ever asked you about theology?
I'm sorry, you just stumped me.
I stumped you.
Yeah, stumped me there. I can't think of it. I don't know if anybody's ever asked me. Yeah.
What did you learn? I just wish you had more time. What did you learn, right, in theology that shocked you? I'm just going to use some words. Shocked you, surprised you, made you pause.
Well, let me
They
go.
don't have to be together.
I get
They can
you.
be three separate reactions.
What I learned from my study of, I did 8 years of theology.
How many?
8 years. Total of 8 years. 4 in undergrad. Actually 6 years. 4 in undergrad. I did 2 concurrent years in a grad situation, and then when I came to the United States, I did a master's degree in Judaic studies because I was interested in Old Testament studies, in the Hebrew language and all that.
There's got to be another conversation.
I get. But let me tell you what I learned. The whole idea, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack from my peers, but I mean no insult to anybody. But essentially, what we were doing is putting God under a microscope. The seminary sort of became that sort of laboratory. Where God, a specimen, is studied.
Ooh. That is it. Ooh.
I'm gonna get a lot of flack from my peers.
Where God is under a microscope,
That's right. And
being studied.
yeah,
Not the
we can't put God under a microscope.
You can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense literally or figuratively.
Well, and while I say that, Sullivan, let me also say that my greatest experience in scholarship was actually the 4 years I spent as a student of theology at the seminary where I did my bachelor's degree. That was quite an intellectual experience for me.
As you were studying,
Yeah.
and you're acquiring this knowledge, what are some things that really fascinated you about what you were learning? One or two.
This is more practical than it is sort of theoretical. The disconnect between that which we were studying in the theological classroom,
Yes.
and that which was going on the outside, just outside the seminary, not too far away from the seminary where we studied. I'd say about maybe 50 yards away from the seminary, there was a homeless man lying on the pavement, on the sidewalk. Right. And the seminarians, we would pass that man every day, going back and forth, and we were on our way to study about the documentary hypothesis, the liberation theology, all kinds of different theologies, and there's the homeless man sitting up there. Now, if I may, share an experience. One defining moment in my experience. I think I was in my 4th year of college, and I was depressed. I was doing very well. I did very well in seminary, And there was a lot of pressure to perform because people had high expectations of me. And so I was sort of feeling depressed. I was sitting just by the gate one day, and out of the corner of my eyes, I saw the same homeless man. I saw him pass by. All right? And I just made a mental note of it. The next thing I heard was a loud bang, a screech, and a bang. I got up from where I was. I walked out the gate. I looked to my right. There was a car in the car, sort of jammed into the concrete fence. On the ground was my homeless man. He was lying there and he was groaning. He had sort of dreadlocks, and he had a jute bag wrapped around his loins. He didn't have any shirt on. I walked out to him and I noticed that the leg of his right foot was at a 90-degree angle. I took one look at him, Selwyn. Right? I was the only one on the scene. This was around noon. I took one look at him, and then I turned and I walked right back to where I was sitting. I had to be about maybe 20 yards away from where. Went back to where I was sitting, and I sat down. And I wept. That was a defining moment for me in my theological experience. And now, people can say, "Oh, I walked away from that situation," but it was a lot more than that. It was about my faith being tested. Because one of the questions I asked as I stood there over this man was, I can remember vividly, why didn't you just take his life? Why have him here with a broken leg and he's still alive? And I just walked away. So.
Rick, we gotta have another conversation on one of these Sunday after we talk about religion or theology and spirituality. I will. You won't.
We can talk about anything. Politics.
If you weren't doing what you're doing as a career, what would you like to try?
I'd be working on an oil rig somewhere in.
Oil rig.
Yeah. I'll be an explorer someplace. I'll be backpacking in the wilderness, living in the outdoors.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is your deepest concerns and fears for humanity?
Actually, I have more hope for humanity than I have fear. Because if, like I said, if life makes sense, then we can't be pessimistic. We have to hope that humanity can rise to its best. And then, I look at you. I look at the people I know, really, really good people, and that gives me hope.
Yes.
That all is not lost as far as humanity is concerned. We hear a lot of things going on around the world.
Yes.
But when you really think about it, there are a lot more good people. And we don't even hear about. We don't even know where they are, but they're good people going about their business, making a difference.
What is your favorite song to sing when you're alone? I'm pretty eclectic in my taste of music, so I have actually, you know what? I tell you what, it's a song by Keith Green. Keith Green, a gospel singer. The Lord is my shepherd. Wow.
Yeah.
I'll look it up. When are you most happy?
I'm most happy when I am watching a foreign film, or when I'm out in the wilderness, backpacking, climbing a mountain.
You're not one of those Chinese film enthusiasts, are you?
Actually, I'm a foreign film enthusiast. So
that is part of it.
Yes, I have many films that were made by Chinese directors. Really wonderful films. Yeah.
I was addicted.
Yeah, you loved it. You were talking about the martial arts.
Yeah, I was addicted.
Okay.
I was really addicted.
Yeah. I remember those when they came up again. You remember?
Even the contemporary one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
I
okay.
still watch.
Yeah.
Selwyn Collins is saying this on live. I still do right. Why not? What are you most proud of?
What I'm proud of is being a good human being. I think I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a humble person. I'm not. I know my place. I value the other, human individual, and so I'm proud of that.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell 15-year-old Rick?
Keep doing what you're doing, man. I wouldn't change a thing. I like the outcome, regardless of everything that I might experience. So keep doing what you're doing, Lord.
What do you like least about your writing? Or the process?
Oh, actually, I hate writing stuff. Seriously, I hate writing.
Oh man!
It's very it's I know. That's the first thing I greet my students with when I start the school year.
Yeah.
And I have students in my writing class, and I say, "Guys, let me see how many of you dislike writing," and hands would go up, and my hand would go up too. And they would look at me. So what? Say, yeah, I hate writing too. And then they'd be looking at each other, And then I say, but I'm good at it.
Yeah.
And I can help you with it.
Yeah.
But writing for me is very innovating. And then you remember you asked me the word that people use to describe me, and the word is passion. Because like you're a writer too. When you let that stuff out, it's passionate energy. And it takes a lot. It's pretty innovative.
Yes.
People can't understand. I just want to get it over with.
Yeah, it's true. That is very true.
Yeah.
The last question for the evening: what makes you laugh out loud?
What makes me laugh out loud? A funny moment in a movie. Yeah, and I can dish out one of those. You remember we used to call it was it lawless laugh? Yeah, then you just did.
Yeah, lawless laugh.
Yeah, a good movie moment.
If you could recommend a foreign movie, which one would you recommend right now?
I would recommend. Actually, it's a movie that won the best film foreign language film. It was a Swedish film, and I really can't remember the name.
Okay.
But it had to do with immigrants going into Sweden and the way they were treated.
Wow.
Pretty good movie.
Wow.
But I can't remember the name. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, there's Gate of Hell, which was a Japanese
Gate
film.
of Hell?
Yeah. It's probably not available on DVD. Probably gonna get it on those videotape things.
Yeah. Well, Rick, thank you so much.
Oh man, this was a pleasure. This was our third conversation.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying every
This was
minute of
good.
it.
And this is Selwyn Collins saying thank you for tuning in. Good night, and fear not what fear whispers to you. Fear your obedience to it. Good night.